here.
Stephen, real quick, Politico is reporting that Mark Zuckerberg was at Mar-a-Lago today meeting with President Trump. Can you confirm that?
Yes, that's correct. And Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear about his desire to be a supporter of and a participant in this change that we're seeing all around America, all around the world with this reform movement that Donald Trump is leading. Mark Zuckerberg, like so many business leaders, understand that President Trump is an agent of change, an agent of prosperity.
Right.
And so business leaders, CEOs, everywhere, they want to be an element, a supporter, a booster of making our economy prosperous, delivering for American workers, and making sure that America is the most powerful, wealthiest, freest nation on the face of the earth. So we'll see what comes of that. And Mark, obviously, he has his own interests, and he has his own company, and he has his own agenda, but he's made clear that he wants to support the national renewal of America under President Trump's leadership.
Mark Zuckerberg at Mar-a-Lago having a sit-down with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the pairing I had on my bingo card for 2024.
Right.
But here we are.
Here we are.
Diving into this Fox Business article that has me wondering, what's the real story behind this unlikely duo?
Well, on the surface, you've got the tech titan and the, shall we say, unconventional politician.
Right.
But if we dig a little deeper, this visit on November 27th starts to feel less like a random occurrence and more like another chapter in a surprisingly established relationship.
Okay, so color me intrigued.
Yeah.
The article mentions Stephen Miller, a close advisor to Trump, saying Zuckerberg wants to be a part of the change happening in America and sees Trump as a key driver of that. I have to admit, I'm struggling to reconcile those two figures. What's your take on this?
It's definitely a head-scratcher. You've got Zuckerberg, who built an empire on connecting people online, aligning himself with a figure often seen as divisive. But Miller goes on to say Zuckerberg views this as a reform movement. And sees Trump as an agent of change and prosperity.
Interesting.
It almost sounds like Zuckerberg's buying into Trump's vision of national renewal.
That's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if Zuckerberg sees something in Trump's style, maybe his approach to leadership, or his ability to shake things up that he admires or even wants to emulate.
That's certainly a possibility. And remember, this isn't their first interaction. Trump has actually talked about Zuckerberg calling him. Not once, but twice. After the assassination attempt in July.
The assassination attempt. It's easy to forget amidst all the other chaos of this year.
It really is. Trump even claims Zuckerberg told him he wouldn't support a Democrat out of respect for him. It's a pretty bold statement, and it adds another layer to their dynamic.
It definitely suggests a level of personal connection that goes beyond just casual acquaintance.
I think so.
It makes you wonder, what was the true purpose of this Mar-a-Lago meeting? I mean, it could be anything from a social call to hammering out some grand plan for the future.
There's also the incident where Trump said Zuckerberg apologized to him over a Facebook error related to one of his photos. I don't have a lot of details about that, but it points to a history of communication between them.
So we've got these phone calls, apologies, and now a private meeting at Mar-a-Lago. It's like trying to piece together a puzzle with only half the pieces. But there is one piece of information that I think sheds a lot of light on Zuckerberg's perspective here. Remember the assassination attempt we mentioned? Well, there's a quote from Zuckerberg given to Bloomberg that really caught my eye. He said, and I quote, "Seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most bada things I've ever seen in my life."
That's quite a statement.
It is.
It definitely goes beyond a simple expression of sympathy.
It does, doesn't it?
It
makes me wonder, what is it about that image, about Trump's reaction in that moment that resonated so deeply with Zuckerberg?
If we look closely at the quote, there's an undercurrent of admiration there. You could even argue it hints at a shared worldview, a certain appreciation for resilience in the face of adversity, and maybe even a touch of, dare I say, showmanship.
That's a fascinating observation. And it ties back to what Miller said about Zuckerberg seeing opportunity in Trump's agenda. Maybe Zuckerberg sees that same resilience, that same defiance as a key to success both in politics and in business.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's certainly a compelling thought. Perhaps Zuckerberg admires the way Trump bends the rules, disrupts the status quo.
And maybe he sees some of that same spirit in himself, in his own rise to the top of the tech world. But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the implications of this whole situation.
Right.
We've got a tech giant seemingly cozying up to a political figure who's been accused of, well, a lot of things.
Yeah.
Does this raise any red flags for you?
It definitely raises some interesting questions.
Like what?
Think about the impact on something like data privacy.
Okay.
We know Meta collects mountains of data on its users.
Right.
If there's a closer relationship between Meta and, let's say, a future Trump administration, how might that data be used?
That's a chilling thought. Could we see Meta's data being used to target voters?
Potentially.
To tailor political messages or even to silence dissenting voices?
It's possible.
It feels like we're wading into some murky ethical waters here.
And it's not just about data privacy.
What else?
Think about the potential impact on free speech.
Okay.
Zuckerberg has talked about Facebook as a platform for open dialogue. But Trump has a history of attacking the media and trying to control the narrative.
Yeah.
How would those two approaches coexist?
It's almost like two opposing forces trying to occupy the same space. Would we see a shift in how online platforms moderate content?
That's a good question.
Would there be more pressure to censor certain viewpoints?
Possibly.
Or to amplify others?
These are questions we absolutely need to be asking.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the intrigue of this relationship.
Right.
But we can't lose sight of the potential consequences.
It's a reminder that the world of tech and the world of politics are no longer separate spheres.
Yeah.
They're intersecting in ways that could have a profound impact on our lives.
And it's not just about Zuckerberg and Trump.
Right.
This is a bigger conversation about the role of tech leaders in our political landscape.
Okay.
Are they passive observers or are they active players shaping the future?
And if they are players, what are the rules of the game?
Right.
Who gets to write them and who gets to enforce them?
Those are the million-dollar questions. And honestly, I don't think anyone has the answers yet.
Yeah.
We're in uncharted territory here, navigating a new world where the lines between technology and politics are blurring.
It's exciting and terrifying all at the same time.
It really is.
But one thing's for sure, we can't afford to be passive observers.
No.
We need to be informed, engaged, and ready to hold both tech leaders and political figures accountable.
Absolutely. This isn't just a story about two powerful individuals.
Okay.
It's a story about the future of our society, about the choices we make and the consequences we face.
Okay, so let's step back for a moment and try to make sense of all this.
Yeah.
We've got Zuckerberg and Trump, this seemingly odd couple with a complex history and a potentially game-changing relationship. What are the key takeaways here? What do we need to understand about this situation?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the world is changing, and it's changing fast.
Yep.
The lines between technology and politics are dissolving, and we're seeing the emergence of new power dynamics that we don't fully understand yet.
It's like we're watching a tectonic shift in real time.
Exactly.
And we're not sure where the fault lines are or what the aftershocks will be.
Exactly. And in this new landscape, we can't afford to be complacent. We need to be critical thinkers,
right?
Asking tough questions and demanding transparency from those in positions of power.
It feels like we've stumbled onto something much bigger than just a friendly meeting between two high-profile figures.
Yeah.
It's raising fundamental questions about the future of power, technology, and democracy itself.
It really is, and I think it challenges us to reconsider the role we expect these tech giants to play in our society.
Okay.
Are they neutral platforms simply providing tools and services?
Right.
Or are they becoming active participants, shaping the political landscape with their influence and resources?
It's a tough question, and I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
On the one hand, we want these companies to innovate, to push boundaries to connect the world.
Right.
But on the other hand, we don't want them to become unelected power brokers, dictating policy or manipulating public opinion.
It's a delicate balance, and one that we need to be very conscious of as we move forward. Because the decisions we make today, the lines we draw or fail to draw, will have a ripple effect for years to come.
This whole situation with Zuckerberg and Trump feels like a wake-up call, a stark reminder that the world is changing faster than we can sometimes comprehend. And if we're not careful, we could end up sleepwalking into a future where the values we hold dear, things like privacy, free speech, and democratic accountability, are eroded or even extinguished.
That's a sobering thought, but it's a necessary one, because the future isn't predetermined. It's shaped by the choices we make individually and collectively. And the more informed we are, the more engaged we are, the better equipped we are to navigate these uncharted waters and steer towards a future that reflects our values.
So what's the call to action here? What can our listeners do to make a difference in all of this?
It starts with awareness. Pay attention to how these tech giants are interacting with the political sphere. Ask questions about their data practices, their moderation policies, their political affiliations. Don't be afraid to challenge the status quo or to demand more transparency.
And remember, your voice matters. Engage in conversations, share your concerns, hold your elected officials accountable. The future of our digital world, and indeed our democracy, depends on an informed and engaged citizenry.
Well said. This isn't just about Zuckerberg and Trump. It's about the kind of world we want to live in and the role we want technology to play in shaping that world. The choices are ours to make.
And on that note, I think we've given our listeners plenty to chew on. This deep dive has certainly been eye-opening, even a little unsettling at times. But, as always, knowledge is power. And the more we understand about these complex issues, the better equipped we are to navigate them.
I can agree more. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I appreciate the opportunity to delve into these important topics with you.
The pleasure's all mine. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep those minds curious, those questions coming, and those conversations flowing. Until next time, happy exploring.